I'm cooking some spaghetti and macaroni again. I haven't done a cooking with Reg in a while, so here we go. We're going to go cooking with Reg. Unfortunately, the topic is, I find very dark and very, it's sad. To me, it's sad. Because, did I not say you would see something like this? I remember a while back, during one of my Q&As, I was talking about how transgender, and I'm not a doctor, but sometimes the obvious truths that are right in front of people, some people just cannot deal with reality. Unfortunately, here in Canada, we're passing all these transgendered laws that really, the political correct damage that is going to be done to these poor people. They are victims. They're suffering gender dysphoria, or I think is the clinical term for it, but an identity crisis, that thing. Now, one thing I said about Bruce Jenner, and I've always called him Bruce Jenner because he is Bruce Jenner. Caitlyn doesn't exist. That's a fantasy. It's icing. He's not really a woman. Now, yes, the man has some civil charges against him, or criminal charges against him for a hit and run a couple of years ago or whatever, and he may go to jail for that. So obviously the man's going to be under stress under that. And some people will probably try to scapegoat it just to that. Say, well, it's not that he's questioning his identity again. It's because of the stress of the trial coming up or whatever. I don't follow those people religiously. But I said it very clearly. And watch for this. And I said this, about a year ago? When he was all over the news as this great hero, as a strong individual who became a woman. A man who became a woman. How brave, how brave. And I said, look at the people preying on this man's disability. This man, okay, yes, he made a conscious choice to have his, parts of his body cut off. And add-ons and add and subtract a few things, right? He's taken hormone therapy for years. All that kind of damage. God knows what kind of damage that stuff really does to people. I watched one transgender guy's video, and he had to stop taking the hormone therapy because it was like his kidneys were failing. I'm like, in other words, they're doing scientific experiments on mentally ill people, in my opinion. And I know that's going to make people mad. Why? Because you're not supposed to be able to, basically disagree with anything. Well, if you were an alcoholic, and I told you were an alcoholic, you'd probably get mad at me. Why? Because a lot of people can't deal with the truth. They can't handle the truth. And more importantly, they can't handle the shame. So they lash out at the ones that are closest to them. Now, I can only imagine what his family's going through, having to accept this. Damn, my battery's going to die. But the thing is this, is that good, bad, or ugly, the family's the family. They have to deal with it no matter what. So by accepting his narcissism, by accepting this idea, like even his mom said, well, okay, I didn't lose a son, I gained a daughter. That's the way she's going to rationalize it. Why? It's the same way people deal with people with alcoholism or in the family. Well, he's really nice when he's not drinking, etc., etc. You know what I mean? It's a human response to try to rationalize things to make you be able to cope with difficulties of life. That is a normal human response, and nobody is exception to the rule, self-included. You will be surprised what you would rationalize. Let's say your child, hypothetically speaking, turned into a zombie. You would still say, yeah, but he was such a sweet kid before he started eating people. You know what I mean? And you would rationalize it. You would find a way to mentally cope with that. Now, that's the people that are close, that are arm's length from the individual in question. Now, that said, people that are on the outside looking in, such as myself, I mean, I don't know this person. I don't know them personally. All I know is I see a person that's being pushed on TV as this great hero and savior, and I said, watch for this. I said, he's going to have a moment of crisis. And it's the same whenever you have a rock star or something like that commit suicide. You have devoted fans that is their life, that's the rock star. And I guess for the transgendered community, that's their Elvis Presley. You know what I mean? That's their rock star. That's their new Kurt Cobain, whatever. That's who it is. Now the problem, when this man fails, how many people is he going to take with him? I say, and I'm not saying it because I want it, it is tragedy because this man needs therapy, not encouragement to push an agenda which, on behalf of a bunch of narcissistic psychopaths that are taking advantage of him. The LGBT community is definitely taking advantage of these type of people. These people, yes, they're mentally ill. I know you can lose your job for saying stuff like that. What kind of human being wouldn't call this stuff out? And the only argument you get, well, you just don't understand, you're just this and you're just that. The same arguments you would get from a drug addict. maybe a little bit rewording, but the same kind of emotion, the same kind of defensiveness, you would get that. Why? Because it is hard for people to accept failure. It's hard for people to accept confusion. And to me, when I see a boy who wants to be a girl, who wants to be a boy again, who wants to be a girl again, who wants to be a boy again, and then they argue that a biological construct is a social construct, well, where's reality? Where's reality in all this? I mean, you can't decide to be a boy one day and a girl the next day. You know what I mean? It can't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And that's what's happening. It doesn't matter if it's day to day, year to year. It doesn't matter what the cycle time is. You have a person in crisis, period, end of discussion. And you have a media and a government on top of that. Now, the government, I mean, the pharmaceutical companies must love transgender people. They get to experiment on them willingly. To me, that is the biggest problem. The other thing is these parents that go along with this, well, I'm going to let my child choose their sexuality at 5 years old because I believe in them enough to make a conscious decision. Those people are fucking horrible. They are just disgusting that they would do that to a child. You're supposed to be there for a child. An adult is one thing with a fully developed brain, but a child, no. You don't let your child make life-altering decisions that are going to be so harmful in the end. A rational person can see this. Irrational people and social justice warriors and people with utopianistic leftist thinking that think only of the political correct. It's amazing what how they're trying to justify this. So this man, who decided to become a woman and became a rock star amongst their kind, who I said, watch, this man's going to have a moment of crisis and he's going to end up killing himself. Why? Because the statistics are not in his favor. Well, arguably number-wise, you could say, yes, slightly in his favor, but not by much. Most transgenders, from what I hear, and again, I'm not an expert on this, you go and search it. After the operation, many of them go completely crazy and regret the operation, and 41% or something like that attempt suicide after. The argument you get is, it's because even after the operation, people still didn't accept them. Well, they can't accept themselves. I mean, where does it come to the point where people realize that you cannot force other people to follow your delusions? For example, Black Pigeon Speak did an excellent job on this, much more statistical than I'll do. But he talked about a girl who is what they call now trans species. So the girl thinks she's a cat. And there are people that say, well, this is now an accepted identity. So if you want to be a dolphin, you can be a dolphin. You want to be a bird, God help you if you want to be a bird, because the first time you figure out you can't fly, it's going to kill you. And people say, well, those people are mentally ill. Trans age, the 54-year-old man trying to be a 6-year-old girl. Trans age, well, no, he's mentally ill. Well, yeah, but you're missing the point here. How can somebody who believes they're an age they're not, I mean, there's just complete biology right there telling you, no, you've been on this, there's dates, times, okay, you were born here, you're this old, you're not 6 years old anymore. That's one. So, of course that's a mental illness. It's an identity crisis, sure. Why? Well, I mean, it's beyond my expertise, so to speak, to say how these people get that way. I think more study is needed. Problem is we need fair study and people who actually care about helping people. There are studies that show that sometimes when these people have these confusions, they can get therapy and sometimes even hormone therapy to a degree to help them bounce back into what they are. Not what they think they are, but what they are. Sorry, gender does exist. I know right now mom and dad doesn't exist in the schooling system. Boys and girls don't exist in the schooling system. Race doesn't exist. All these things don't exist. But they do. But they keep popping up. Again, that transgendered man that is sitting there, and it's mostly men that are transgenders from what I understand, which is very tragic as well. When they get that moment of crisis, and I've even heard many transgenders say that they were encouraged to be that way. They were encouraged to be confused by grandparents, parents, school teachers, etc., etc. Very, very toxic. And those people need to be held accountable for that. So, the thing is this. They show that there's almost a 90%, in one of the studies I've seen, it was like 80 or 90% recovery from that, getting the person back into balance. Their hormones back into balance. The men are the men, the women are the women. Now what they think they are. Because at the end of the day, no matter what, the only person that can't lie, they might be able, there's a few transgenders out there, yeah, you've probably met them and not known, because they can pull it off, yeah, when they're young and stuff like that. You know, you got a guy who's 18, he still doesn't have a full face of fur like me. Yeah, he's going to probably pull it off easier than a guy my age. Why? Because I'm going to have this face of, even with the hormone therapy, yeah, it'll hold back a lot, but it doesn't hold back everything. And no matter what, You're always going to be knowing that you are not what you are. And that's where I think the crisis comes in. Because no matter how much you try to live in that fantasy world, no matter how much everybody caters to that fantasy world and builds you up into saying, oh, no, we accept you just the way you are and accept like that, rather than reality and try to get this person help, as painful as it might be. I can't imagine how hard it is for these people, let alone their families, to have to deal with that. There's no easy answer here. But I can tell you this, when they're going to be sitting there and just realizing, whatever the incident will be, they're going to realize that they're not what they think they are. That there's still always going to be a man or a woman, or whatever, no matter how much they play at the make-believe of it. And every time somebody in society points this out, it's going to knock them off the rocker. It's going to, they can't handle it, clearly. Why? Because they're having a moment of crisis. Why is people not going along with my delusions, etc., etc.? They're wrong, it's always them, but the thing is they know it's not them. They won't admit it to themselves, and when they do, that's when I think, okay, yeah, they're right, I need to switch back, oh my God, what have I done? What kind of guilt does that put on? That is, I think the cruelest diseases you could possibly have is things like, even if breast cancer, as bad as cancer is, at least you know cancer is trying to kill you. You know what I mean? But like Alzheimer's, very cruel. Why? You're losing your mind. And you don't realize it. So that's horrible. That is a horrible, horrible thing. The other one that I think is really, really horrible is people suffering identity crisis and encouraged by others to follow. That I think is the big tragedy. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. I really do feel bad for this man. I understand that he's been propped up and used in the spotlight. Now, when he attempts to commit suicide or commits suicide, there's almost a guarantee he's going to do it. He's thinking about reverting back to a man. The emotions that he's putting his family through, I can't imagine what his family's going through. There's more than one victim here. When he does that, at some point, he's just going to become one of that 40-some-odd%. 40 isn't 50%, but still, that's a pretty high number. I think that should tell you everything you need to know. If people, after the operation, still can't handle it and are still attempting suicide, it's because it's up here. That's where the problem is. It's not... The problem isn't between the legs or in the chest. It's up here. It's a mental disorder. Because if it was just a matter, okay, have the operations and you're good, and some people might be fine with that. But there's some people, okay, they still understand that they're a man or a woman or whatever, and they just want to be whatever. But they understand that at the end of the day, they are playing make-believe in their own mind. That's the only way I can put it. Is it cruel to point out the truth? I think it's more cruel not to. Truth is sometimes really hard to hear, and usually much more difficult to deal with. So that leaves us with a man who has a family, who's been propped up by the media, the government, taken advantage of by the medical system, and psychologists, and the whole lot, for selfish agendas at his expense. And now what is the price for that? What is the price for that kind of confusion on a person? What is the price? Well, the price could be death. Now, when he kills himself, the world is going to mourn and stuff like that, sure. The transgender community and the LGBTQ, X, Z, Z, whatever. They're just adding everything on there now. Vampires considered an identity. You can have any trans whatever and just add in whatever. I'm a milk jug. Today I feel like I'm a milk jug, but you're not a milk jug. You know what I mean? But that's what they're promoting. Now, you can hate on me as much as you want, but this is what's most likely going to happen. He's either going to kill himself or attempt to kill himself. This is a man in extreme crisis right now. And when he does, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that followed him follow the same. The same thing after you had Elvis died, people committed suicide. Kurt Cobain died, people committed suicide, etc. It happens all the time. So those deaths, okay, are not really on Bruce Jenner. They're not going to be on him. They're on the people that put him there and encouraged the worst things to do. I can imagine, I remember hearing his mom say he fought with him for years over this. So, again, how do you save a person like that? You can't save them all, I get that. It's very, very, very tragic. And suicide, that destroys not just families, but communities. It is very, very, very serious. And we have politicians that, in the name of political correctness, are passing laws to cater to mentally ill people. That's disgusting. That is disgusting. You can say, you're just a hateful bigot and transphobic and everything. No, I think science is more than on my side. Sorry, the boys and girls do exist, mom and dads exist. Gender is not a social construct, it is real. If I was a hateful person, I would say nothing and wait for him to commit suicide and go, good, he's gone. But what I'm thinking of is this. He's probably going to do this. Because I said, 6 months ago, if you follow this channel, you heard me say, watch this guy, he's going to have a moment of crisis. And he's going to want to revert back. And he's thinking about it. Now he's got all the pressure of letting down all the trans community. If he's jumping ship. He's going back to the old ways. And there are going to be people that are going to resent him for that on his side of the fence. They're not good people. They're just taking advantage of him. They're taking advantage of a mentally ill person. It's criminal. It's criminal. But yet, we live in a world that's so freaking politically correct, nobody has the balls to say it. That's disgusting. Shame on you. But the thing is, how many people are going to die committing suicide after he commits suicide? Because their rock star just killed themselves. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Again, I don't hate this person. I don't know this person. But I usually do call these things pretty good. And I call them because I deal in reality. So I said he was going to have a moment of crisis. Because he's been in a moment of crisis his entire life, probably. And nobody's ever dealt with it the proper way. How is the proper way? I don't know. I don't know. But rather than the government's passing laws for which bathroom you can take a piss in, and stuff like that, how about we, rather than give people hormone drugs and change them into something they're not, how about we maybe examine how to get them to help to maybe accept what they are. Now let's say you try it, and the person still wants to be something they're not. Well, as long as they have the full understanding that they are something other than what they think they are, and they can make peace with that, then you probably won't have any problems. But the problem is that they're not made peace with it. They obviously haven't made peace with it if they're still trying to commit suicide. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole kicker. You've put up the illusion that these people are just fine, normal, and dandy, but they're not. They're the abnormal. That's not a bad thing. It's just they're abnormal. They're not normal to other people. They have a problem. They have a crisis. They have that type of thing. To point this out is, to me, is so blatantly obvious. I don't need to be a doctor to tell you that person is mentally ill. It's so blatantly obvious. But I'd also say this, that I don't know how you would fix a person like that. Some people are broken and they can't be fixed. That thing. But that said, long before they should have pushed him in front of the cameras and put him on Vanity Fair and all these things, they should have questioned what the repercussions is when it goes awry. Who are they going to blame? They're going to blame everybody but. And all the people that are probably going to knock themselves off, again, when the rock star kills himself, or attempts to, again, you look at it. You just look at every rock star that's ever committed suicide. The diehards always follow. But the thing is it's who put him in front of the TV, who put him in front of the camera, who promoted it, right? Who's passing the laws to accept mental illness as a normal? That's what needs to be questioned. That's what needs to be questioned. I'm going to wrap this up. They're going to have to grab the phone, and I got to get my spaghetti all done. But I really do feel bad for these type of people. Because they need help, not drugs. They need help, not operations. Anyway, let it go there. Have yourselves a great day. G'day, hi, and welcome. Alrighty. I'm cooking some spaghetti and macaroni again. I haven't done a cooking with Reg in a while, so here we go. We're going to cook with Reg. Unfortunately, the topic is, I find very dark and very, it's sad. To me, it's sad. Because, did I not say you would see something like this? I remember a while back, during one of my Q&As, I was talking about how transgender, and I'm not a doctor, but sometimes the obvious truths that are right in front of people, some people just cannot deal with reality. Unfortunately, here in Canada, we're passing all these transgendered laws that really, for the political correct damage that is going to be done to these poor people. They are victims. They're suffering gender dysphoria, I think is the clinical term for it, but an identity crisis at that thing. Now, one thing I said about Bruce Jenner, and I've always called him Bruce Jenner because he is Bruce Jenner. Caitlyn doesn't exist. That's a fantasy. It's icing. He's not really a woman. Now, yes, the man has some civil charges against him, or criminal charges against him for a hit and run a couple of years ago or whatever, and he may go to jail for that. So obviously the man's going to be under stress under that. And some people probably try to scapegoat it just to that. Say, well, it's not that he's questioning his identity again. It's because of the stress of the trial coming up or whatever. I don't follow those people religiously. But I said it very clearly. And watch for this. And I said this, about a year ago? When he was all over the news as this great hero, as a strong individual who became a woman. A man who became a woman. How brave, how brave. And I said, look at the people preying on this man's disability. This man, okay, yes, he made a conscious choice to have his, parts of his body cut off. And add and subtract a few things, right? He's taken hormone therapy for years. All that kind of damage. God knows what kind of damage that stuff really does to people. I watched one transgender guy's video, and he had to stop taking the hormone therapy because it was like his kidneys were failing. I'm like, in other words, they're doing scientific experiments on mentally ill people, in my opinion. And I know that's going to make people mad. Why? Because you're not supposed to be able to, basically disagree with anything. Well, if you were an alcoholic, and I told you were an alcoholic, you'd probably get mad at me. Why? Because a lot of people can't deal with the truth. They can't handle the truth. And more importantly, they can't handle the shame. So they lash out at the ones that are closest to them. Now, I can only imagine what his family's going